What's up, everybody? Jensen Cummings here. Thank you for tuning in. So today we have Ty McKinstry, who's an attorney with Isbicki and Langer based in Denver, Colorado. Ty, thanks for taking some time.
Yeah, thank you, Jensen. Excited to be here.
One of the things that we want to get around is lawyers are expensive.
Yeah.
And so we're tight margin industry as a whole. We are
Yeah.
tight on the budget. We're undercapitalized every time we go in. We're like, let me just scrounge together what I think is enough money. It's never enough money. And so they say, okay, well, let me have them do this because, I don't have to pay for it. I'll get all the way until it's leased. And then I'll just have a lawyer just to mark a couple things and be like, you're fine. The problem is they are now not invested in their own success. And you now are saying, they're saying, okay, can you just take like an hour or two to do this? The reality is you can, not going to be the best lease for them. So when you're thinking about it, you need to really be looking at investing on the front end, because usually where Ty or other law firms will come into play is when it's on fire later and it costs you a lot more money and you're cash strapped because your cash flow is so thin. So I really want to hover on that for a moment. It is so important to invest on the front end.
I think one really important aspect of this that a lot of tenants overlook is the quality of the broker that you hire. A good broker is not only going to find you good space, but they're going to add value in terms of some of the negotiating aspects that, you can take some of that out of my hands as a lawyer and put it in your broker's hands if you hire a good, competent broker. So spend a little bit of extra time and hire the right guy, and the right guy is it's not always the guy that, knows the most people or that can show you the most space. I mean, it's often the guy that understands the ins and outs of these deals in a way that can actually add value. One of the biggest things in today's leasing environment that just hasn't been an issue essentially ever is force majeure. And, force majeure is the clause in a lease that basically says that if you're unable to perform your obligations due to, acts of God is the broad term, that you'll be excused for that performance. And typically it's just boilerplate. It's at the back of the lease. People don't pay much attention to it. But right now, we're working on a couple of restaurant deals where the negotiation started with force majeure. And we essentially said that, if we can get a force majeure clause in place that we like, that will give us some rent relief in the event of a government mandated shutdown due to COVID, then we will move forward with this negotiation. But, if you're not willing to play ball with us, we're not willing to take on the risk here to open up a brand new restaurant when, the government might tell us that we can't even be open for business. So a personal guarantee is probably the most landlord favorable lease term.
Yes.
And what a personal guarantee is, it essentially means that, if I'm the tenant and my restaurant goes under and the landlord comes to sue me for the rent, I say, hey, my business is bankrupt. I don't have any money. So, you're not going to get anything if you sue me. What the personal guarantee does is it puts the principal, the owner of the restaurant, on the hook for that rent. So
that means they're coming after your house. That means they're coming after your car. That means they're coming after you.
Exactly. So I mean, that's a biggie. Yeah. So, that's a great question. So basically the way that it works is if you sign a lease, you're on the hook for the entire lease term.
A 5-year lease, a 10-year lease, you're there for 10 years.
Yeah.
Even if at year 3, it's in the tank.
Yep. And so a tenant is almost never going to get a termination right ever. So that means that a tenant cannot terminate a lease for basically any reason whatsoever. So essentially what happens is, your business is failing, you're not making a lot of money, you want to terminate your lease, but you can't. So the way that you get out of it is you find another tenant, another restaurant, say, to come in and take your lease, and they become sort of the tenant, and you become, you're often sort of left in this weird gray area in the middle where you're still a party to the lease, but you're not occupying the space. So that's a big one, Jensen. That's a big one.
Yeah, you have liability, no control at that point. Somebody else is in that space, but they can come after you for damages.
Right.
So I think that's an important thing. So think about that for sure.